Today we're going to be talking about the office management, and I'm going to go ahead and pop my screen on here so you can see it. But first of all, I want to say a few words as an introduction of sorts. And first of all, I'm going to start with the 3D management, office management module is a database, basically. It's a database of all the client ordering and payment information, as well as a repository for all the various people that you may have contact with during the task of booking, performing, and delivering your inspection report. It's really the brain of the system for tracking people and addresses, and any information entered into it can be merged into any report or document produced by the 3D software, thus saving repetitive typing. It also provides management data to gauge your business and organize your operations so that you can have management reports. Now, some inspectors have asked if it's possible to use 3D without the office management, and the answer is yes, but at the cost of time wasted with repetitive data entry and the lack of any business activity reporting, generally relied on to measure a business's success or to deploy new resources. 3D was designed initially with office management being the first point of contact. So whereas it's possible to use 3D without office management, it's not recommended. And what we're going to be talking about today is setting up office management so it works the best for you. Now, the entire 3D software package can be likened to an assembly line where information comes in one end, and this is the end where it normally comes in as far as the ordering information, and a completed custom report comes out the other end. Now, the office management is at the core of how you want to set up your assembly line to produce your custom reports. It operates in conjunction with other parts of the program, like Report Writer, the Custom Form Studio, and the Document Editor, and even the 3D Mobile Inspector app. So each of these will be addressed in detail during upcoming webinars. Now, one of the concepts, though, that you should keep in mind, and this is very important, is that it's easier to design an assembly line when you know what your goal is before starting. This means that you should have an idea already and beforehand of the services that you will provide, the pricing of those services, and how you intend to conduct the business, whether as a single proprietor or as a multi-inspector company. A company name and logo will be required as well. And with this information at hand, it's easy to set up 3D office management to be the best assistant you ever had. And it's very easy as well to start off as a single person company and then to grow into a multi-inspector company with just a few changes to office management. Now, when you initially started the 3D software, a wizard helped you or will help you set up your basic company information, your logo, and your main inspector for automatic merging into the reports and the documents. If you converted a database from a prior version, your prior setup of those items carried over. Whether you remember this or not matters not, as the good news is that you may adjust these items and other setup or customization items at any time using the toolbar options, which we will be discussing today. And finally, I realize we may have some attendees who never even looked at office management, so the first order of business is simply to take a quick look at the screens that make up the bulk of office management. This webinar demonstrates the premier edition of 3D software. So if you're using a standard or a focus edition, you will likely see some features not available to you. And I'll try to point those out as we go through here. So with the screen that we see here, this is really the beginning of the office management. This single screen lets you choose which job you want to edit. And all we're talking about here, we're not talking about doing the report here. All we're talking about is getting the information when somebody calls in and wants to book a job. And this assists you in capturing that job. So the opening screen shown here has several columns. It has the views column at the left over here. It has the jobs in the view that are shown in the center column, and then it has an overview of the highlighted job over here. I don't have any highlighted job right here, so we'll just highlight one. And you'll see as these jobs are highlighted, the information in the right column changes. Now over here in the views column, we can have different views, and you'll see here that we have all inspections. And let me say, I set this up for the webinar. This is not a running business here, or we would have hundreds and hundreds of clients in here. And so some of the examples I may show here will, they won't have the impact that they would have if they'd had a lot of names in them. But moving on, you have different views here. You have the jobs last week, you have the jobs this week, you have recently added jobs, you have all inspections. And for those of you who have a Premier edition, you can also create your own jobs. You can add a new view, and I've done just that with Arthur last month and Ford last month. I've set this up with two, or actually three inspectors, myself, a guy named Arthur, and a guy named Ford. And so there's Arthur's jobs last month, and there's Ford's jobs last month. And these can all be set up by clicking to add a new view, and it's real simple to just give it a name, give it a sort order, either ascending or descending, and you can add filters to these things, and you can make this thing any view you want to. Anything that works well for your particular company. And you'll notice that where there's views made, you also have a delete button down here and a modify button. You will not have those for the views that came with the program. Those are fixed in place. So here you have views, but also what else do you have? Up here you've got a little drop down and you have contacts as well. So you can get a different view here. You can have all your realtors here, or you can have all your clients. You can have just about anything. Again, you can set up views, and here I've set up Remax agents. I've set up Sunbelt agents. And again, it works basically the same way as I showed you a minute ago. And also we have the modify and delete down here. So, and as well, up here we have a couple of things. Let's see, maybe I shouldn't get to those just yet. Let's see here. Yeah, I do want to talk about these. You can add a new job right here. When I click add a new job, or I'm sorry, add a new contact, because my view is over on contact. So I can add a new contact here, or if I was, it won't let me do it without putting a name in there. Or if I was on jobs over here, I can add a new job. And this gives me some screens that we'll be filling out in just a minute. I'll show you those in just a minute. But let's go ahead and continue with this screen right now. Now, over here at the right, you have the information. It's sort of just a quickie information, so you can see what this job consists of. You've got the site address, invoice number, what items have been selected here, and we're going to get into a little more information about this. I know this may be confusing right now, but we'll have a little more explanation there. And then down here at the bottom, there's activities. And these are the activities once you have all the information from the client or from the realtor and all the people that are associated with this particular job. This is where you either start a new inspection, and in this case, I already had an inspection open, so there would be, or I already started an inspection earlier, so there would be open an existing inspection, and then I can also create and upload a mobile inspection. And each of these will be going into in the other webinars when we go over how to use the 3D mobile inspector app. Now you can review or edit an existing order here simply by double clicking on the highlighted job, or you can come down here to these. There's two choices down here. One is edit job, the other one is delete job. So you can click here on edit job. It'll open up the job that was highlighted. If I want to go back to the screen I was on, I can either click cancel, and it'll ask me, am I sure? Or if I open up another one here, I can click save. It'll go right back to where we were. So it's sort of a fail safe there, in that anytime you want to go back, you just click save and it goes right back. Now, opening up this screen, I'm going to go ahead and, well, let's open up, let's see, let's find it here, but how about Mr. Maddox here? All right, you're going to see here that we have 3 tabs on this order screen. And this is a screen that's really open when somebody calls and says, how much is a home inspection, okay? And all the information related to the ordering of a particular job is found on these 3 tabs. Any information contained within these screens, these 3 screens right here, can be actually, it can be set up to automatically merge at the right places in a report, a document, or an email. And many of the items on the 3 tabs can be customized as well to reflect the services that you offer and the way you decide to run your business. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what we're going to be addressing primarily today in this webinar. And again, it's best if you know what you want to do so that you can set it all up now rather than getting in here and then doing some and then changing it a little bit and then decide, no, I want to make it different. it's always better to kind of put it down on paper first so that you can, sort it out before you actually start putting it into the screens. Now, the organization of these three screens was designed around the question that every prospect asks when they call, and I'm sure each of you knows what that is. That question is, how much is a home inspection? By asking a few questions, such as those on the job details screen here, a conversation ensues, and the concerns of the inspector and the culture of your firm is communicated verbally to the prospect during this conversation. By going through this question and answer framework, the proper price for inspecting the property, and I might say along with any additional services the prospect realizes they will need during the conversation, can be determined rather quickly. The questions and the answers here, and you'll see as I scroll down through some of these, I've put all these answers in myself, and I've even put in the labels here on these particular input screens. So these can all be set up and should be set up before you get started with your inspection business. Now, these can be changed. These are quite easy to change. We don't recommend that you move their order around, but there's plenty of blank spaces here for anybody who wants to put in additional labels for whatever way they run their business. But the questions and answers on this job details screen can actually be set up so that an invoice will build automatically in the background as the prospect answers your inquiries. This allows you to provide a firm and fair answer to their original question about the cost of an inspection. Now, over the years, I've seen that having a system like this helps you to answer these questions directly. It conveys to the prospect that they're speaking with an organized firm that wants to do a proper job, and the price, which is what they called about initially, suddenly becomes a secondary concern, because really what they wanted to hear was that your service was the one they wanted because it's going to be thorough and complete. I don't know anybody that calls looking for a cheap, crummy inspection. Everybody wants cheap, but everybody wants the best they can get. And so this conversation allows you to clarify that and to let them know that you're interested enough in their property that they probably are going to get a pretty good job. So how would a typical call go? A typical call would go like this, and I'm just going to get out of this for a second. The phone rings. I go, "Hello, Home Buyers Inspection Service," and they say, "Oh, I'm looking for a home inspection. How much is a home inspection?" I would click Add New Job. I come over here to my job details. Now, some people might want to say, "Oh, who am I speaking to?" I don't do that. Okay, I get right into asking the questions that'll give them the answer they need, and then if they're accepting of that, or they may say, "Oh my gosh, why is it so much?" Well, that gives me the opportunity to explain why it's so much, which gives me more of an opportunity to establish my credibility. But usually I'll get the name afterwards. So I'll go down here and I'll start asking them questions. I don't usually start with utility status. I usually start down here with what's the age of the building. And I'll ask them what the age of the building is. And what's the building style? Is it a piling home, a ranch? I know some of you guys don't have piling homes, but some of you have townhouses and things that I wouldn't have in my area. I'd like to know how many stories it is, because that always takes more time. The construction type, I might ask. Space below grade. I need to know, is there a crawl space or not? And let's say there's a full crawl space here. I might like to know if there's any additions, because sometimes once you get out there, you don't get that chance to ask that anymore. I might like to know if there's a garage. Pool or spa, that's an extra fee right there. Let's say there's a pool here. Bedrooms and baths, not really that important to me. Send report 2, we have to get that in the end. I don't need to have that right away. Means of access, I don't really need that right away either. I don't need any of the rest of this right away. This is stuff that I can come back to. So, and then I would come over to my invoice tab, and in my case, I have this set up so that down here under add items to invoice, I have my pricing set up so that we have ranges of square footage. So you can see here that if the square footage is less than $1,499, then the price is $275. If it's between $1,500 and $1,799, then the price gets bumped up $50. And this is one way that's very popular to price inspections. However, in 3D, we have a couple other ways that can also be done. One is by using the total square area, where you might have a minimum price for a minimum amount of square footage. Let's say 1,500 square feet might be $300, and then you might charge, let's say, 20 cents for each additional square foot over that. So there's another scheme for doing those calculations in here automatically, which I don't have mine set up for, but if you're interested in doing it that way, you can always call technical support or look in the help files here. It's fully explained in there. And then there's also, I know people who actually price jobs by the number of bedrooms and baths in the house as well. And on that last screen we just saw job details, that can also be set up that way. So I'm here, I'm going to ask them, how many square feet do you have in the house? What's the living area as opposed to the total area? And let's say it's 2,200 square feet. And then I might also ask them a few other things, like, is there a cottage there? Because I charge extra for a cottage. You see here that the crawl and the pool inspection are already checked off because we noted those over here in the job details when we were over there. And I might even mention, do you know about radon? And I might upsell them to a radon inspection, radon test, or maybe even a termite inspection. Many of us have termite inspectors we work with, and so it's nice to get it all done at one time. So I click OK here, and bingo, there's my price. So now I can give them the price, which is $595. And like I mentioned earlier, they're either going to say, oh, that sounds okay, or they're going to say, wow, why is that so much? And that's when I'm going to start telling them what we do. We go into that house, we start in the kitchen, and we go through the plumbing, and we go through, and we check all the appliances, and we check the walls, the ceilings, the floors, the windows, the doors, the trim, the closets. Then we move into the bathrooms, and we check. And I just go into this spiel, and I'm telling you, I've never been able to finish the spiel because they always go, okay, you're the guy. And if somebody complains and says, well, it's kind of high, can't you give me a discount or something? Well, sure, we can come in here, and down here at the bottom, I've got, this is all alphabetical. I've got a military discount here. I might ask if they have military service, or I've just got a regular discount here. So I can click that and say, okay, I'll give you a $25 discount, and now it's $570. And that's when I would say, that's when they would indicate that they wanted to book the job. And then I would come back here to my general tab, and I'd get their name, who am I speaking with? I come here and say add new, and I start typing in names and typing in all the information here. And so I would have it. And so I would fill out the rest of this information in here. And, I might ask them for who's your buyer's agent, who's your seller's agent. You notice these come up. Anybody that's in an agent role here comes up right here, so it's handy. And these people down below, these are people that aren't agents, but they're still people in my database. So, sometimes maybe a lawyer acts as an agent, or maybe sometimes an agent acts as a client. So this takes care of all that, so you don't have to go searching for them because they're right here. And if you have something you just can't find, you can always come in here to this search box, and you could type anything in here, and it'll bring it up. If I say NJ for New Jersey and click OK, it brings up everybody that's New Jersey. If I type in 459, it'll bring this guy up. I can type in Cousins, it'll bring it up. Any piece of information here typed into the search box will bring that up. And of course, you can always delete these guys too. And if you need to modify one, I can always come in here and just modify this guy if I need to. Okay, click OK here. Okay, now let's figure out where I am here. Now after that, there is there's a phone call coming in. Okay, after that, there's also a scheduler up here that you might be interested in, because once this thing's been scheduled, you can come in here to the schedule and you can see exactly what's going on here. Here's Arthur's job on Wednesday. Here I've booked out some time for a doctor appointment. Over here is Ford has a job over on Friday. And there's a lot of different views here. You can play with this a lot. There's a weekly view. There's a monthly view. Down here you can see there's a job right there. There's another job right here. That's my doctor appointment. There's a job. That's a vacation there. I know there's another job here somewhere. Is that it? That's not it. Somewhere around here I saw one. Carl. Oh, I didn't do any jobs. That's why it's not there. I guess I'm looking for this one here. Yeah, so it kind of gives you a little bit, and if you need to click on that, you can pull up all the information about it. So you can play with that. You can even have different schedules for different groups of people, so that if you've got some people that are over in, let's say you got 3 inspectors on the north side of town and you got 3 on the south side of town, you can have 2 different schedules so that you can, control each of them individually if you want to. Okay. And So now that you've kind of seen an overview of how it works as far as putting in the information, let's get into some of the changes that can be made. And I want to start with the invoice items. These are the items that we saw over here when we clicked on invoice and I said add items to invoice. These are really your services right here, okay? Now we don't change it here. What we do is we come up here to our customize drop-down menu and we can change all of our invoice items here. This is the same list we saw a minute ago, but there's a few more functions that you can do in here. So if I wanted to add a new one, let's say, I could just come in here, I could type the item name. Let's say I'm going to start doing home watch service, home watch charge. And actually, I'd just say home watch. Let me just say home watch service. And what we want to print on the invoice, we want to say home watch charge or home watch inspection charge or whatever, because this is what's going to print directly on the invoice. This you're just going to see on the screen, but this you'll see on the invoice. And then we're going to put a price in here. Let's say it's, oh, this is crazy. Let's say $100. This sales and income account is used only if you have QuickBooks installed. I don't have it installed right here, so it's not going to show up anything. But if you in QuickBooks, you'll have an account name for your, you'll have different account numbers for your income. And let me explain that 3D only deals with the income. We don't deal with the expenses. That's all taken care of through QuickBooks. But when you want to do QuickBooks reports and you want to know where is your where your sales coming from and what are you selling the most of, how much radon, how much sewer reviewer, how much of all this stuff, then it's handy to have that. There's a secondary way to do that as well that's within 3D, and I'll show you that in just a few minutes. We'll come across that. So you can add any services you'd like to. I left this one as an active service because I want to see it every time, but you can also have services in here that are kind of one-off services, like for instance, I set this up for total area billing, which I mentioned earlier, but I don't use these two. Okay, I just click them off. How do you do that? You highlight that, you go up to modify, and you this little active right here. You just click it or you unclick it. That's all you do to make it kind of disappear, even though it's still there. And you can always turn it back on at a moment's notice if you need to, over in the actual invoice screen. So what we do is we set up all of our services here, our price here. You can leave them all as set as commonly used items if you like, and that's it's pretty simple, really. You access this list of services on the Invoice tab when booking a job. I'll show you that. Again, we were there a minute ago, but we'll come back here, right here, where I say Add Items to Invoice. This is where you access it. Then you can add additional services here, or you can modify any selected invoice item. So if you come down here and you go, oh, gee, I need a travel fee. I don't have one here. What am I going to do? You can come here to add a new item. You can type in here travel fee. And right here, travel fee. Whatever it is for this particular job, let's say $75, and you're good. And all you got to do now is just click it. And it's in there now. So now we're at the 645 because the guy didn't tell me initially that the house was 45 miles from my office, So now once you're in here, once you've actually brought this invoice item into the invoice, you can highlight it and you can come down here and say modify item. And you decide, okay, it really should be $35. I can change that right there. Click OK, and now it's $35 right here. The price is dropped accordingly. So it's very, it's very flexible as far as dealing with people and getting them set up and getting their invoice all their price in here and getting their invoice all set up. Now moving on, and this is really the first thing you need to do when you set up 3D is get all your services in there, or at least a number of them in there. You can always add more later. Next thing I want to talk about is over here on this job details. Now, I mentioned that we have these labels here, and we also have all the different selections that are underneath each of these labels. I'm going to show you how you can set those up. You come over here to Customize, and you come to List Items. And you'll notice here that some of these, now what we have here is, and this is a little reversed. Over here we have the fields, which the field is like utility status is the same as this right here. That's the field name. And over here on the left, we actually have the choices under that field name. You see the choices being, well, I can click on these now with that open. The choices being, choices being off or on. Just like over here on construction type, we got brick, veneer, concrete, stucco. If I come over here to customize list items, you're going to see down here under construction type, as we scroll down right here, there's all my choices under construction type: brick, veneer, stucco, concrete, metal. So if I want to add a new one, I just come here to add new. It's the same basic thing, and I decide, well, what am I going to add here as far as another? You know what? I've got all these filled up right now, so I can't add any right now. But typically, when the program comes, there'll be 6 or 7 of these fields that are empty, and they don't have anything there, so you'll be able to add them. But here you decide what you're going to name it. There we go. And then let's see here. That's for other. See, I'm already set up here with these. I don't have any additional ones. So let's go to pets. If I go to pets, it's going to say, okay, what's the name of the actual comment here? Okay, the comment is Big Bear in backyard. Okay, and here this invoice item, let me skip that for right now. We'll come back to that in just a second. I'll click OK here, and now when we close this and we come over here to pets, there's Big Bear in backyard right there. So that's how you add it. So you come up here to customize list items. Now, if I wanted to modify one, if I said, well, age of building, I want to change this, I can click on it, highlight it, click modify, and there it is, age of building 3 to 5 years, which is exactly what I had clicked here. I may change that to 5 to 6 years, or I might add the word approximately on the end of it, okay? Let me show you one more here. That's quite interesting. Now, if you come down here, you see this middle column, the invoice item column? Well, you can link up the answers here to an invoice or to a price that you charge. For instance, on the crawl space here, what I did was I'm going to highlight that and I'm going to click modify so you can see this. Here, it's a full crawl, and the invoice item, because I'm intending on charging extra for a crawl. You can see here that I now have all the invoice items here. These are all the items that were over here on the invoice screen, and one of them is crawl space. And when I click on that right there, it says, basically what it does is it says, okay, if you're over here and you click crawl, it's going to add $50 to the invoice automatically. As soon as you go to the invoice screen, it's already going to be checked off. And that's what we saw a minute ago when we were over there, and I pointed out that we had a couple check marks, one by crawl and one by pool. The other one, pool, down here, right there. If it's a spa, I'm going to charge extra. If it's a pool, I'm going to charge extra. If it's both, I'm going to charge extra. Now, am I always going to charge the same? Yeah, I got it set up to charge the same whether there's a pool, a spa, or both of them. I can adjust that, again, at the last minute if I need to, over on the invoice tab. So that kind of shows you how you can set these answers up to actually help build the invoice in the background while you're asking the questions and having this conversation with the prospect, Now, you're probably going to see some of the labels over here on my screen that you don't have on yours. And if you're running a premier version of 3D, you can add a lot of additional fields, as I have here. With the standard version, I believe there are 4 or 5 fields that you can add, but no more. And so you'll get more on that in a minute when we get to the preference settings, because there's some more about that over there. But all users have the ability to add some fields. Okay. Now, let's see here. I was going to show. Yeah, I showed you that. Okay, we're good on that. Okay, next we need to look at some of the more advanced options available with Office Management. And these are found under the Maintain drop-down menu. And the big one is Office Management Preferences right here. And there's a number of setup screens here. And we'll go over some of these. All right, the first one is the company you need to put in the name of your company. And as I mentioned earlier, when you first start the program, you're taken through a wizard that asks you the name of the company and all this information. So that's really a really easy way to set everything up because it just guides you through it. But if you skip through that or something, which a lot of times we're in a big hurry to see how it all works, you might not have the advantage of that. So here you just put in all your company information. And if you're a single man operator, basically you can put in yourself as the owner and as the inspector. And I'll, as the default inspector right down here. And now contact roles. We're going to talk a little bit about this. It used to be many years ago with 3D, we served only the home inspection industry. So we knew that we had agents and buyers agents, sellers agents, and clients. And we also had, bankers and title company people that might be referrers that we wanted to, maybe send a little notice out to, telling them thank you or something. But over the years, 3D has been used in the marine industry and in the construction industry, even for people that do bridge inspections. So the contacts that are in those other industries are different from the ones that we have. So we had to have a little setup screen here so that people could customize the product to do what they wanted to do. We've already set it up for home inspection here, and basically we have the agents that we deal with, or rather the contact people that we deal with are agents, bankers, a client. I have a client number 2 because every once in a while you get somebody that says, I'm buying a house with another person and we're not married, but my name's got to be on it, and yada, yada, yada. So we have a client number 2 there as well. I believe the program doesn't come with this. I set this up this morning, but it's just simple as adding a client. All you have to do is click add new and put the name, I put in client number 2 in there. That's all I did. And then a referral, and a lot of people don't use referrals, but it's in there anyway. Now, those are the contact roles of the people we deal with. But here we have the contact labels. So if over here in this page, I say the client right here, then I want that to be the client in the contact role. If I say buyer's agent or seller's agent, I want that to go to the agent database. I want it to show all the agents because some buyer's agents become seller's agents on the next deal. Some seller's agents become buyer's agents on the next deal. So previously we had 2 different databases and it was very hard to find people sometimes. So this solves that problem. And then we have, of course, the referral is a referral and a banker is a referral. This one here I put in earlier and it got stuck and I couldn't get it out, so I'm just leaving it there. It's not doing anything. As long as this is not checked, it's not going to show up anyway. And here's where I put in client number 2, and my choices were, the things that I had up here in the contact roles, which are, and I didn't use client number 2. I messed up by putting client number 2 in a contact role. I just put client here. So now whether it's client 1 or client 2, it'll go to the client's database. And it'll bring up all the clients, so you can pick both clients from that one database. And if you need any help with setting that up, listen, you can always, in fact, I think I used the help files this morning to figure out how to do that. Did it on my own, by the way. I'm pretty proud of that. But you can always call tech support too. Now over here we have custom fields, and this is what I referred to a minute ago when I said we're going to be getting back to these labels. And these are the labels over here for the job details screen that we had a minute ago. And you can see here that some of these, when the program comes to you, some of these are already in here, but there's a lot of them that have spaces between them where you can fill them in yourself. We do not advise you moving their position once you've started entering data into the program. It's okay to move them before you ever use the program, but once you start using the program and entering data, the program relies on these particular labels to be where they were when you started using the program and not moved around, because once they get moved around, it corrupts your data. And you'll see crazy things on some of the prior jobs you did when the labels were not rearranged. So just a tip right there. But these are the labels. It's easy to, put in more labels. Just type something in there. It's not a big deal. And click OK. Next one is invoice features. Now the invoice, we have a invoice designer, and the program comes with one invoice. It's listed here as a default, but you could have 3 or 4 different types of invoices if you wanted to. Again, we'll get to that in just a minute. Starting invoice number, I set mine up to be 1,100, I think, or something like that, but you could set it up to be 5,000 or whatever you want it to be. Or you don't have to even use it. Right here it says automatically assign the invoice number to the job name. If you don't want to assign that number to the job, then you just take it off. And then you can use the address, you can use their last name, and whether it was in the morning or in the afternoon, or you can use all kinds of different schemes people have for finding stuff. It's really not necessary in 3D because you have a search field there where you can find anything with any piece of information. But I know it's a warm fuzzy for a lot of people, and if you've already been doing it one way, you want to probably continue the same way. So this allows you to do that. You can display the inspection name if you like on this thing, on the actual invoice. We should do that. And there's a lot of tracking stuff here. Track receive date, review date. We haven't used much of this in the past. It's here if somebody wants to use it for chain of custody. And it is handy over in the, we have a version of 3D for mold inspectors as well. So it could be handy over there, but it's not that handy for home inspectors. Down here, multiple inspector schedules per job. If I click this, then what happens is this particular, right here, this particular part of this screen disappears, and then where you will find that information is over on the invoice tab under each listed service. Because once you start doing multiple inspectors per job, what that assumes is that you have one guy going out at one time, let's say doing an underground tank, and you got another job going out at another fellow going out at another time doing the radon test, and then you got the home inspector going out too. So you may want to have 2 or 3 different inspectors scheduled for one job, and that gets into a little more complicated when you get into multi inspector stuff. But that's there, and that's just another option. Emailing is another big feature we have. If you set up this emailing, and this webinar, I really don't have time to get into all the instructions here for this, and we will address this in another webinar. But if you get this set up, and it's phenomenal how automatic it is. You have a couple of different things we're dealing with here. You have email messages, so that when you send an email to it, send an email to somebody with an attachment, let's say a report or a contract or whatever, then you can have this information automatically go in there, and it'll say dear, and it'll fill in the prospect's honorific, Mr. or Mrs., then their last name, attached his invoice, it'll fill in the job name for your home inspection it'll put the full address in there to be performed at, and it'll put the inspection date in there. Here's one for the home inspection report, message used when sending an inspection, message used when sending an invoice, message used when sending a document, like a contract to be signed and brought to the inspection or emailed back to you before the inspection occurs. Everybody likes to have those signed up front, so you don't have to deal with them on site. But this is for emailing, and then this one over here, this tab, is for, we maintain an FTP site, so that instead of having to attach maybe a large report with photos to an email that might not go through, you can send the report up to a free FTP site that we maintain. It'll stay up there for a couple of weeks, and you can just put a link to the link goes in automatically to the email. And so you can just say, hey, here's your inspection report, click here. And it's up on the FTP site, and it can be of any size, and there's no issues with downloading it or getting it on the name of the part of the buyer. But setting this up takes there's a little bit of skill to setting this up. You got to find out what your SMTP server name is and all that, and usually that stuff's pretty easy to find, but I just don't have time to go into it right now. Company logo. Company logo, that's easy enough. You can select an image right here, and it'll pop right in there. That's your company logo. The logo can be sized elsewhere. Doesn't have to be sized here. It's sized over when you're creating a header or footer for your document, or when you have like a header for a document, or like a summary page or something. You can size it over there. It's not a big deal. Integrations, we have a QuickBooks integration, and we also have some online schedule integrations, primarily ISN at this point. Now, you'll notice here, I just want to draw your attention up here for a second. There's, you have three things here on this second line right here. If I say I do want ISN, and of course you would have to, sign up with ISN, and you'd have to get a code from them, and there's a bunch of settings in here that you can put in there. They'll give you all this stuff. Then what happens is when I go out of this screen, you'll see there's a little button that pops up here called import. And that's what's used for importing jobs from one of these portals that takes books all the jobs for you, like ISN, for instance. Going back to my office management again, I have one more thing down here, total area billing. Total area billing is another method. I mentioned it earlier for being able to bill people as opposed to having the segments of the sizing, 1,500 to 1,800, 1,800 to 2,100. You can do it this other way as well. Okay, that pretty much goes over the big stuff, okay? The big stuff with setting up 3D office management. Now, there's a few more things up here. One of them is the maintain menu. The rest of the listings here, I might as well go over these. This is inspectors. This is for putting in your inspector information. And here we have, Arthur, Ford, and Carl. And you can just add new, and it's the same basic screen that you saw before. You just put that stuff in there and click OK, and it adds it. You have, after that, the companies. Now this is for, realtors. The program was, you'll find that if you just start using the program and entering people's names, before long, you have this huge database of, hundreds and hundreds of realtors, and they're all in here. And you don't ever have to even type them in because you did it the first, few months you were using the program. But if you're one of those people that already had your system up and running and you've already got, a whole bunch of realtors in there, then you're going to want to use this method to go ahead and come in here and add new and type them in there. And yeah, there's no way to import them in here. You got to type them in here. That's why I say it's really just as easy just to do it as you're booking jobs, and it builds up pretty fast. Next one is postal codes. If you would like to, and I've already done this for Florida, but you can do this with actually any state in the country. What you can do is down here where you get to, it's not on that page, where you get to the, actually it is on that page somewhere. Oh, I know where it is. It's down under the, it's down under one of these things. You click in here, and you've got the, I'm sorry, that's not right. What am I doing? Here, right here, postal code. If you come in here and you type postal code in, then it'll put the city and the state in automatically. Let's see if that works. Go to the next line. There you go. Puts it in automatically. So if you import these postal codes, and right here, import zip codes. It's right underneath the one I was just on. Import zip codes for a state. That'll open up, and you just pick the state you want, and then it sucks all that stuff in. So all you need to do from that point on is just type in the postal code and go to the next field, and it'll put in the city and the state automatically for you. Okay, then let's go backwards a little bit here to the customized menu, because all I did was I talked about invoice items and I talked about list items, but we didn't talk about these other two little things. One of them is term, and basically, used to be we actually gave people credit, but we don't do that anymore. So, these are the different means of payment, but like I say, generally nowadays we get paid up front. Most people get paid up front before they ever go out and do the job. One of the ways that we used to do that, kind of slick, was we would send people a cover sheet along with their contract, and we would ask them to indicate how they intended to pay. And then we would give them the choices right there on that sheet. And we would specifically advise them, do not bring a check to the inspection. We want you, because we got tired of hearing people, oh, I forgot my checkbook. So we just told them, just make sure you pay Visa, credit card, or something up front before we ever go out to the job. That has saved us a lot of hassles. And then down here at the very bottom of Customize, we have a thing called Customize Invoice Forms. And I referred to this earlier as well. we have a layout designer for the invoice because everybody's got a different idea of the perfect invoice. And for those of you who have a Premier version, you can create new forms as well. But we've sent an invoice here that can be customized. You just can't create new invoices unless you have a Premier version. So here's the layout designer. This is what the invoice looks like right now. You can see we've got our logo up there. And the way this can be customized, you got two things here. You have the background elements right here, these things right here, like letters, whatever. You can pull that out and you can type in some label here, click OK, and then you come here and you pull this down to where you want it. You can shorten this up. It can be shortened up however you want. You can position it wherever you want to position it. And once you click off it, the red things go away, you know. So that's like a background. That's what we use to do these things here. Like terms right here, if I double click on this, you'll see here that I can have a border color. I can have a background here that's any color I want. I can have the letters can be any color I want. And that's how we got white letters with a dark background and a black line around it. So, you know, you can do just about anything as far as the backgrounds there. And then when you want to do the actual fields that'll come in here automatically, the fields are over here on the right. And these are all the possible fields that can be used to do an invoice. And so if I wanted to say, well, I want to get the, and there's many more fields than you would ever need here, okay? But let's say I wanted to get, I don't know, person ordering. I click this right here, and up here in the very, did I get that? Yeah. Up here in the corner, where is it? Oh, you know what? It's over here already. Just a second. Let me find another one. Work. There we go. It comes up here to the corner, and you just grab this thing and pull it down here, and you pop it right there, and then click it, and that is the field. So these are the fields, and these are the background elements. And it's a combination of the two put together where you can pretty much draw anything you want. Or you can change this one if you've just got a standard version of the software or a focus version. It's pretty simple. Can you screw it up? Yeah, you can screw it up, but you know what? You can fix it too. It's not that hard. And then you can. There's some other options here for exporting them or importing other forms. I don't know much about this. I haven't really dealt with this too much. I just use it the way it is. And but if you have any questions about it or want to get into it a little deeper, you can always call tech support or check out the help screens. Let's see, what else do I have here? I have a management reports button right here. That's sort of interesting. Management reports, this I referred to as well in the beginning of our little webinar here, where you can actually go in and you can create these different database reports to produce activity reports on, you know, what kind of money you're making, where it's coming from. Is a particular office giving you more business than somebody else? Is a particular area of town giving you more business? Where are the sales coming from? And so the use of this 3D office management builds value over time as more and more data about clients, addresses, and income are booked. And the management reports button will let you create any number of reports analyzing your business activities, the types of income you receive, and who brought in how much. And it's always surprising to see the numbers after a while. Your reports will be based on the labels that you're using or have customized in office management. And I would suggest that you play with these settings. Play with setting these up and viewing the reports after you have a quantity of clients, realtors, and inspections entered. That's when they make the most sense. You can always delete them if unwanted. If you start putting them together now when you don't have a lot of data in here, there's really nothing to see. But once you put a few of these together and then you click View Report, you'll start seeing things you had no idea was going on. I remember in particular, there was a lot of jobs coming to me out of an office. There was over 50 jobs that came to me out of one office, and I had no idea that was going on. That was one of those lists I printed right before Christmas, you know, because I always want to treat the people that send you the most business, you know, treat them pretty nice. So, also there's another menu here that I overlooked I need to discuss. That's over here, the File menu. There's something very important under this File menu, and it's called Backup All Files. Now, this is a great thing, and it's such a reassurance. This backs up everything in the system. It backs up every client, every realtor, every job, every report, every setting, everything that's in the report, so that if something, or everything's in the system, so that if something goes wrong, a computer goes down, it's just a matter of reinstalling the program on another computer and then clicking restore from backup. And when I click restore from backup, I'll just show you what kind of screen you get here. I'm going to come down here. Let's see. I got some backups here somewhere. There's some 3D backups right there. Ooh, those are old ones, 2010. So if I double click on this, it'll come up with a menu here that lets me pick and choose what I want to back up. Now, earlier I mentioned if your computer goes down, you're going to click all of these, okay? But sometimes you might want to just, for archiving purposes, you may want to just back up, maybe office management and forms, but not your inspections, okay? Or you may want to back up just the inspections on a disk and put them aside somewhere. If something comes up, you'll be able to get to them without having them hog up all the memory on your computer, So there's a print layouts, images, actions, the actions menu. I'm over here at the left. We haven't talked about, sorry, don't have enough time on this webinar, but we will get to that in one of the other ones. Very powerful thing. It really doesn't have a whole lot to do with office management now anyway. It's more to do with the report writer. But you got everything in here. Standard paragraphs, another thing we'll talk about later. Everything is here, and you can click restore after each one of those is clicked off, and it'll put them all back in, and you'll be just where you were right before your computer blew up. Beautiful thing. Wonderful thing. So we got backup all files, and I can't, and you've heard this before. I don't have to say this again. It's like your mama telling you, hey, clean up your room. But it's really important to back up your files. It's a sad day when we have somebody call and say, oh, I lost all my files. I hit Control Delete by mistake. Oh my gosh, what did I do? Did you back it up? Oh, I never did that. So, very important to back up all files at least once a month, if not more. Here is setup. Here's where you set up to post stuff to QuickBooks. This is a depreciated feature that, I'm not right. This is the same thing as we had. If I said import jobs for online scheduling system here, it won't locate it because I'm not hooked up to those guys, but it's the same exact thing as if I click this button right here, import. It does the same thing, okay? And then install reseller content. 3D is an open system, and we encourage people to create forms and sell them to each other or trade them or whatever. And even to the point that, this is why we're in the marine industry and the bridge inspection industry, because people in those industries saw our program, had a home inspector use it to do an inspection, and then they realized they could use the same software perhaps to do an inspection job that they had on something completely different. And so we actually do help people set up even whole systems that are powered by 3D but don't have anything to do with home inspection. So in some cases, you'll have forms or something you may want to buy from somebody, and they'll send them to you in a zip file, and you can use this to install the reseller content. Export focus edition settings. I'm not even sure what this is. Maybe Heather can help us on this one because I don't get involved with this one at all.
I actually have no idea either.
Okay, well, we haven't gotten involved in that in a while.
Yeah, that I'm not sure about. That's something to look into.
All right. Well, you don't need it, okay? For somebody that's beginning the program, you don't need that at all. And then, of course, we have exit. Oops, I'm not exiting. And that's about it. I know it's been kind of quick. I've tried to do it a little quicker because the last time I took an hour and a half and people were dropping off. They were going to sleep. So that's why we tried to go through this a little quicker. And if there's any questions, we'll be glad to take those now.
Let me see if I have any other questions. One thing I wanted to point out was Hatham was asking about if you change the name of the job in office management after you've created an inspection, you need to make sure you change the name of the inspection to match it, because you will break the connection between the inspection and the job, so you no longer have that open and existing inspection option.
That's right.
So if you ever,
absolutely.
So if you want to just mention that.
Well, this is why I say that the office management is at the core and the beginning of the system. You get the information in here about the client and the job and the address and everything, and then the report is started. And I mentioned this a minute ago when we were over here in this screen. You know, you start the job here, but once you start this job and you pick, and you'll notice over here in the left column, these are all the different services that this particular guy 1115 has, you know, that he's actually bought. So you pick the one that you want, and then you come over here and you pick the form set, and everything is tied in. You can see here where this 1115 and up here on 1115, everything is tied in to that one inspection report, so that when you pull that record off, it has everything that has to do with that one inspection report. You don't have to go looking for the report here and looking for the client's name over here. And look, many years ago, back in DOS days, whew, you had to do that. You had to go searching for people, and that's when we realized, that's where upgrades and that kind of thing come from. Is you realize after you've done something, whoops, there's another need, there's another problem that people are having, and so you do what you can to try to eliminate it, whether it's to redesign the program or change it or add a feature or whatever. And so it's very important that the report be named the same as the actual record that has the client information in it. I won't go into a lot of this right now. We'll deal with this again when we go to the webinar on Report Writer.
And also I did want to mention some of the Premier-only features are the integration with QuickBooks, the graphical scheduler, and the ability to customize your labels under the preferences.
Yeah, we talked about the preferences and customizing the labels. We didn't talk about the graphical form studio, but we don't need to because that's not part of Office Management. That's
no, not graphical form studio. The graphical scheduler. So the scheduler and QuickBooks integration are two Premier features.
Yes, you're correct. I misunderstood you.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. The scheduler is a Premier feature. That's true. Hey, Premier is only what, $200 more than the other one? It's not that bad. It's not that. It's pretty cheap, really.
Yep.
The extra stuff.
And if you get it during a special, then it's even cheaper.
Yeah, probably.
And I don't see any other questions. So if there aren't any other questions.
Let me do a little review then. How about that?
Mm-hmm.
So tonight, what we've learned about is the general usage of the Office Management portion of the 3D software, the initial setup of the invoice items and the list items using the customize and maintain menus. Those are really the two big ones. How to properly start a new job and produce an invoice or receipt, and how to use the Office Management preferences, that's the other big one, with exception to emailing, which is the following webinar, and then how to customize an invoice, and how important it is to back up your data using File Backup, which is right here again. File Backup all files. That backs it up into a zip file that's a pretty small file, and so it doesn't take up a whole lot of room on your computer, even though there's a massive amount of data in there.
And we do recommend every year or two that you clear out any old R3D files. You put them in a different folder, archive them or something, because there's no reason to have your data folder collecting with thousands of inspections.
Yeah, R3D files are inspection reports. So everybody likes to have those off the computer because you never know when something's going to happen. And it's just always good to kind of clean up the computer and keep it running, trim without a whole bunch of extra overhead. Okay, is that it, Heather?
Pretty much. We do have some people asking about specials. You can always find our monthly specials on our website. On the right-hand side of our homepage, we have a link to the specials. We do generally have monthly specials. If you don't see anything listed there, just call into sales to ask what the special is if we haven't gotten them posted yet. We do occasionally email about the specials as well.